Ivy League college and just stoned people in the pits and was named the starting center for the New York Giants. I just kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger. I kind of liken myself a little bit to J.J. Watt. If you take a look at J.J. when he was in high school, he increased his body weight through incredible strength training. Well, I was the same way. I was obsessed with it. When I came into the Orlando Juice camp, the guys had looked at it and they went, "Holy crow!" I mean, I don't think they'd ever seen a specimen like me in a locker room with Major League Baseball. But when Gates got on me, okay, about tacking the ball with my shoulder, and I went home and got that harness and was able to protect my shoulder with padding, I also put one of those big elbow pads that you see the players wear. So I was up there like, I felt like an armored knight. You know, I had the helmet with the ear flap over the ear. I had my, the padding over my shoulders. I had, my elbow covered. I even was considering getting some kind of shin guard because I would foul balls off a lot on my shin. And I'm sitting here going, this hurts. So I sort of kind of just used equipment to become a fearless Fosdick in there, to stay in there. So when those guys threw me heat inside, I didn't move my foot. I attacked it with my foot. And I became a pretty good hitter. And I was, I loved it. And I said, I had to seriously make a decision about whether at age 32 I wanted to go play minor league baseball. Because I had a guy call me and wanted to sign me. And I said, I'm not going to play minor league baseball. There's no way in hell I'm going to make the major leagues. I have to be realistic. I have a Princeton education. But, and the same thing about wrestling. I turned down offers to do both of those things because I said, I haven't gone to law school or med school, and I don't want to be sitting there painting houses by the time I'm 40 because I'm chasing fool's gold, and I just don't think I'm going to make it in the minor leagues and, make it to the majors. And what's really funny is, when I live in Tampa, it's a hub for spring training. And I became really good friends with a catcher by the name of Darren Dalton. Mm-hmm. And Darren, I got to know Jose Canseco pretty well, too. And I met Mark McGwire out in California when he broke Babe Ruth's record. I think his wife or girlfriend lived in a building right next to me on San Vicente Boulevard. And I recognized him. In fact, I introduced myself to him and, said hi and congratulations for winning, breaking Babe Ruth's record. And that was like a month or so after he did it. And all those guys started doing strength training. That's when it was the beginning of a new type of athlete playing Major League Baseball.
Right.
Barry Bonds, Jose Canseco, the Bash Brothers. And I used to run into Jose every once in a while. We wouldn't talk very much, but I used to run around with a guy by the name of Dwayne Shinson, who was 7'3". So here I am, a large guy, but then you're walking around next to a guy that's 7'3", that's like the number one pick in the draft. Everything is relative. So, Dwayne got, people just, holy smoke, look at this guy, So, I've always had a perspective of, I'm not that big a guy. When I got into camp, it dawned on me a little bit that I was a different kind of athlete playing baseball. Right. And some of these guys, I think, used some of the things that they saw, with some of us out there and experimented with it and applied it to the major leagues. I've seen the evolution of baseball. I used to spend my off season out in Fort Lauderdale. And I ran into Dauber, and I knew what's his name, Donnie Mattingly, when he was. All those guys used to live across from me in an apartment complex because they'd have spring training down there. And here I am, in the off season, work bouncing to my buddy's nightclub, making really good money, and seeing these guys all the time. So I hung around with a lot of the Yankees. Joe Pepitone loved me. So I always baseball's always held a special part for me. But, back then the Yankees trained in Fort Lauderdale. They didn't train up in Tampa.
Yeah, I know. I know, Pelt.
A lot of these guys.
Yeah, I remember covering the Fort Lauderdale Yankees at Fort Lauderdale Stadium, and I know that that stadium all too well. It was neat. I covered the team back in the 1980s years ago. So, yeah, it was pretty neat. And I remember when the Mets took on the Yankees there were some interesting times. So, yeah, believe me, they only went to Tampa when George Steinbrenner, who lived in the Tampa area, built a stadium out in that area. So, yeah, it's pretty neat stuff, the tradition that they have here.
Well, what's funny, Louis and Scott, was I I was introduced to George when he was the owner of the Yankees at Christopher's. Pat Dobson introduced me to him.
Right.
And, we were staying there, and I'm working part-time as a bouncer there on the weekends. And they came roaring in, and I remember he introduced me to Tommy Underwood, Dave Ricchetti,
Right.
Donnie Mattingly, Joe
Right.
Pepitone. And those guys just kind of liked me because I played for the New York Giants.
Right.
And, here I am in the off-season working as a doorman a couple, 8 nights a week. Remember Gil Patterson?
Vaguely.
Well, Gil Patterson pitched in this Game 7 at Yankees and the Reds. Blew
Right.
out his arm. He was valeting cars in front of Christopher's. He made a fortune valeting cars, and he had a couple of minor league bases. He became a minor league manager. So George took a liking to me, and what was so funny was about, I want to say 10, 12, 13 years later, I did very well financially, and my manager took me to watch a speech with Donald Trump, and George was there. George Steinbrenner. There were 20 of us in the penthouse and listening to Donald Trump speak, and George was there. And he walked by me and he looked at me and he says, "I know you as Mr. Steinbrenner. I met you back at." He goes, "Yeah, with Tommy Underwood." He gives me a big hug. George was incredible. He was a scary guy, but if he knew you, he was like, man, he treated you like family.
Oh,
And it was, I was incredible, man. Like, I didn't think he'd remember me, so I just wanted to throw that out.
Well, I've had dealings with George Steinbrenner. Let me give you a little story, Bill, of my dealings with him. Number one, okay, George Steinbrenner, you're right, is one of the most intimidating guys you'll ever meet. I once bumped into him in a hotel. I think I got an autograph from him because he used to have a hotel out the Bay Harbor Inn out in Tampa. We're not getting into that now. And then I also went ahead and got a question and answer from him at Fort Lauderdale. And I knew the way he was. Again, I don't want to overdo it because we only have another 10 minutes to go. But I had asked him some questions because the Yankees did a great job with their player development. But when I got on the manager's subject, he went ahead and ate me up and cut off the interview. I saved the easy questions beginning, knowing I'd get cut off later. And I didn't feel so bad because on Nightline, Ted Koppel did the same damn thing, and he cut off Ted Koppel. So whether you're Scott Morganroth or Ted Koppel, and you talked about managers, George Eichhorn was like not George Eichhorn, that's my good friend, but George Steinbrenner was like a great white shark. He'd eat you up alive. But that's okay. But hold on, Bill. Okay, but the guy had a heart of gold. And a lot of George Steinbrenner's things don't tend to get overlooked. I mean, everybody will, and again, this for another day. The involvement he had with Doc Gooden and Darryl Strawberry, the way he took those guys under his wings when they were having drug problems, and what he did for the Tampa community goes without saying. So I'm with you, Bill. Dealt with George Steinbrenner before, and I know that he had a soft side, and he was a winner. And you know what? Everybody that knew George Steinbrenner was better because of it.
Absolutely.
Well, I remember the evolution of George because the Yankees, I want to say this is, in the 80s, 1982, 1983, somewhere in there. And I think he had just bought the Yankees.
73.
And he was building. Remember when he bought, do you know what year he bought the Yankees, Lewis?
I believe it was January 7th, 1973. He was a former Cleveland, he worked in the Cleveland business area.
Well, he was a shipbroker from Columbus, I believe.
Because I believe they used to be owned by CBS, but it was
right. They were owned by CBS. Good point.
73, he purchased them because they won in 77 and 8 with him there.
Right. Yeah, I remember that too. Yeah, he I believe he was from Columbus, Ohio, or in the Ohio area, and he ended up buying the team, and the rest is history. So go figure.
Well, what was really interesting is I lived, when we played ball back then, we didn't make the kind of money that these guys make today. All right, so a lot of the guys, that played for the Fort Lauderdale Yankees, lived in the apartment complex that I was, the next apartment complex over. So I used to walk over and hang out with those guys. We'd go to dinner and stuff like that. And I can remember, Donnie Mattingly,
right,
Gene Nelson, Dave Ricchetti, Scotty Colecco. A lot of these guys were in spring training, and I would see these guys. And but the guys that were, already on the Yankees, the Pat Dobsons, the Tommy Underwoods, the Joe Pepitones, the George Steinbrenners, they would come out of Christopher's. And Fort Lauderdale was a real small town. And I can tell you unequivocally that I probably never made the kind of money these kids make today, but I've had such an incredible life and of fun and lifestyle because it was fun living down there back in the day and watching the evolution of the Yankees. And I can remember Joe Pepitone turning around and going, there was a guy by the name of Steve Balboni. Remember Steve Balboni?
Oh, yeah. Quite well.
Yeah, Steve could hit a ton. And Donnie Mattingly, and Joe Pepitone turned around to me and he says to me, we got a kid that you're going to love. This guy's got the sweetest swing I've ever seen. Donnie Mattingly. I said, yeah, I met Donnie, a couple times. I said, he's a baseball player? He goes, oh, yeah. He's really, really good. And so it was really, really fun to watch these guys go on to have the careers that they had when I knew them when they were in the minors. I mean, Rags was he was a cut-up,
right.
And he was a great pitcher, and he went on to be with Boshi. So, there was always these little tentacles that every once in a while running into these guys, either in a senior professional baseball league and backdating it to 10 or 15 years, earlier than that, or maybe 10 years earlier than that, and then watching the evolution. So, it was very nostalgic for me to sit there and it just triggered when I thought of Curt Flood today and, how he should be in the Hall of Fame and then the Senior Professional Baseball League and then all the good times I had down in South Florida in the off season and watching the evolution of, these guys and then running into them again out in California and up in Tampa. Because George moved that operation up to Tampa.
Yeah, I remember that.
When you go, yeah.
I remember that, yeah. Just a little footnote to this whole thing, though, Bill. Don Mattingly never played for the Fort Lauderdale Yankees. He played for the Greensboro Hornets. Mm-hmm. His presence here was mainly in spring training. So, a little footnote there.
A
little footnote
really
there.
Funny.
Go ahead.
It was really funny. I don't think I don't think Donnie he wasn't, like you said, he wasn't with the Fort Lauderdale Yankees, but he was in spring training.
Right.
And what's really funny is Pepitone became a manager of the Nashville Sounds.
Right.
And I think a year later, I ran into those guys on the bus. And I got on the bus with them and drove, I don't know, like 100 miles or something, and he dropped me off, and it was funny. So I went to a couple of minor league games, and then I remember going to Tinker Field.
Right.
And I can remember sitting watching Scotty Gleckles pitching for the Minnesota Twins, the Orlando Twins.
Right.
And the Minnesota Twins, they had Gary Gaetti and all those guys, and they were all in the minor leagues, and they went on to the Twins to win some World Series. So I've been around some pretty dynamic major leaguers and got to know these guys intimately and socially and had a few beers with some of them, and I've watched their careers, and it's so much fun to sit there and go, hey, I actually know that guy. Yeah, sure you do, Bill, sure you do. So I used to sit there and be quiet, but, because people wouldn't believe it because these guys became such superstars. But to me, they were just normal guys, and, and I kind of don't get intimidated when I meet owners of ball clubs or stuff like that because, when I met George in I think the late 80s and listened to him, Trump speak, and Donald's another approachable guy. I mean, I won't even get into it right now. But Donald sits there and likes to joke around with the public and goes, please don't call me president. Call me Donald.
Right.
And I see how some of these guys are portrayed in the press. And, and we can say that for another discussion because
we will.
We don't want to talk politics.
No.
But, I just, it's kind of funny that I have a little different perspective on things sometimes from having played sports in the 80s.
All right.
Living in South Florida. And I know you feel it, Scott, too, because you were down there at the same time.
Oh, yeah. Well, let me you talk about Tinker Field for our fans to know that I will be covering the Michigan Wolverines and the Alabama Crimson Tide with Candy Ebling. She'll be doing the photos for the South Florida Tribune. And, yes, over at the Citrus Bowl adjacent to Tinker Field as we put a lid on it. Lewis has one more thing he wants to mention.
Yeah, Bill, after hearing this story, I don't know whether to call you Forrest Gump because you've been everywhere. Jim Thorpe because you played multiple sports, Deion Sanders because you played multiple sports, Brian Jordan, and 100 other things. But, Roy